My take. Are you ready? This is a spicy ass take, right? Here's the problem. This is all I'm about to give you an example in real time of why everyone can't do this show. Because Maui, you thought you were just sitting there listening to me give the final take of the show, then we all just go off to our. No. You're literally now being suspended onto a tightrope, and they are disconnecting your safety rope, and there is no net below you, Maui. So I'm going to give my take, and my take can be wild. You're going to have to be really careful where you step, son. So, all right, it's all good. Let's just see how he does it. He's made it through so far, guys. I've made a bunch of takes about PGL and stuff like that. Here's the take. I won't necessarily go super specific. I'll give Maui that grace. But I actually hate the hiring of this recent major. And so I'm actually the talent for it. But I'm not going to make it specific to the specific people I don't like. Because again, I think that's one, that just makes it unnecessarily harsh for Maui. And then two, it's also a bit rude beyond the ones that have been personally rude to me. Like, put it this way, there's people on there I don't have a problem with personally. I just don't think they're the best at their job. And I think there's people who are better at it. So I will make this a more generalised point, not actually specifically about the Star Ladder Budapest one, but about majors in general, which is I do think in theory the person who bids and gets the major should get the majority of the say in who is hired as the talent for that major. If they personally, I'll give you an obvious example. Let's say, I don't know how many pairs of casters you would hire, but let's say they get to that fourth casting pair, and they would rather the one that gets missed out is, let's say, Dinko and Moses instead of, I don't know, Harry and Hugo. Because obviously there's only so many casting pairs out there. You can make a choice between them, and I can accept and respect your choice. If you pick the other one, maybe I prefer one of those pairs. Maybe you prefer the other. That's a legit choice. My problem is some of the people that you get hired for these majors, not always in the casting role, I'll say it's pretty stacked. If you look at analyst and host, sometimes you get people where I'm just like, bro, did like 7 people turn you down? What? How is this the name? Like, that doesn't even make sense. That's not even like a debatable thing. That's like you've picked someone where in certain major cases, you wouldn't even use that person on your event, and then you're putting them on this one now, or you'd have had them as the person when, say, like a famous player or analyst said, I can't do the event, or I can't go to that country or get the visa, you'd bring him in as the backup. Why is he on your major? So essentially, my point is this. I do think there needs to be some kind, I know this is a very fucking elusive topic I'm about to bring up, there needs to almost be some kind of a standard for who you hire for these majors, because unfortunately, I'm just going to say, I think some were just nepotism where people have hired people that they think are good, but like no one else seemingly does. And that makes me wonder, like, do you think they're good just because you like them and they're your friend? That's my obvious concern. And then the other one is, I'm sorry, this is the one that I'm actually really bothered about, is if you run a major, it's one thing if you're running your event and then you just lowball the last guy and he gets in on a third or a half of whatever else. For a major though, for the world championship of the game, we're going to hire someone at the end. And this is not just this one, by the way. I've heard many majors this has happened at. You're going to hire the last guy who on the event it's going to look like is equal to all your other analysts and casters and hosts. You're going to hire that guy and he's going to get half of what everyone else gets, just so your budget is constrained and you can afford to pay, the extra 100 to this guy and get this guy. I think that's just a bit gross for me to work in the tournament, because in my opinion, when you work the World Championship, that is like you, the TO, saying, see this rubber stamp, I'm giving my seal of approval. This is one of the best people in the whole world in Counter-Strike. This person right now can do the World Championship for the sake of not only today, but posterity, and they can do an awesome job. And you know what? Even if you don't think they're good enough, I promise you, they're going to hit it out the park, 10 out of 10, and you're going to, at the end of the major, go, what a great hire. I just don't, this one, it's not that everyone on this one, obviously, I think Maui's a great hire tech. I could go through most of the list. It's all pretty good people. But I do think this just reminded me of one of my issues, which is I've seen this happen a bunch of times. Like, we can go back in the 2010s, this was happening. So essentially, I wish there was like some standards, because I think sometimes some of these majors, it's not even that they just don't make sense. You just look at it and you're like, bro, I know 5 people right now who'd say yes, who are better than these people. Like, why aren't they on the event? The obvious one for this one, and it's been my problem in a long time, is I actually don't understand at this point in time how many times Yanko has been turned down for fucking majors, bro. Like, this guy's never done anything political. He's never done a single like scandal in terms of opinion. As far as I can tell, he's just one of the most beloved people ever on broadcast. Always does like a minimum 8 out of 10 job. Never phoned it in as far as I can tell, at least not on a tier 1 event. I don't get what this, because here's the thing, if you ask why I'm not on majors, mate, I've done all sorts of wars with fucking TOs. I've had the most outrageous opinions in Counter-Strike and takes, but Yanko's had none of that, and he still misses fucking most of them anyway. So I want to see, listen, probably more of a Kassan topic, but Maui can give some sort of an abstract take.
I'd like to go first just because I feel like Kassan can get angry about what went on with the hires. I'm going to just give some sort of statement, facts / light opinions, but it's not really like I'm digging into it because all of these people, everybody at the Budapest major is going to be my colleague. So it's not ever in my best interest to just say this guy deserves it, this guy doesn't deserve it. Okay, so a few things here, all right? So the first is that my sentiment regarding the major is that I would want the major's broadcast talent hires to represent the last 1 to 2 seasons of who's put in the work, who's put in great work, and people that have given enough to the space that it feels like it's merited. It should be a merit hire for who's brought onto this broadcast, because in a celebration of World Championship Counter-Strike, I want the people there who have been telling the story of the teams that are also in attendance for the last 1 to 2 seasons. The only exception for this, if it is an incredibly vetted broadcast talent who maybe has lightly distanced themselves from the space, but we all know has the capability to do it because we've seen them on the pass succeed in the role. So that's what I would do if I was hiring for this kind of thing. The next thing I would say is that having talked to different TOs in the past, unfortunately, we aren't in a space like Dota where Valve has a say in who is hired for these events. I don't know if people know that behind, like, that are fans of the space, but it is entirely up to the TO that wins the bid for the event to make the hiring process. And that's why, actually, one thing that notably we don't have in Counter-Strike that is in Dota is talent autographs, which is kind of like their form of signatures, and talent voice lines, which if people didn't play Dota during the game, you can just spam emotes, essentially, like voice emote sounds, and you could get your favorite talent like Sir Action Slack saying something crazy in the game, and everybody's going to hear it and everybody laughs or whatever, or you just use it to troll your team or your opponents. Either way, they wouldn't do that in Counter-Strike because it's not Valve who has their fingers in the hiring process here. Another fact about this is that if you want to even go further on the hiring process, this is I'm not really trying to garner sympathy. Again, this is the decision by StarLadder. Have to respect the decision. I have talked to them about it. The casters who weren't hired for this portion were talked to them about it. I am not working the playoffs of the major. There's 2 caster pairs that are not working the playoffs of the major. Okay. There's also another analyst who is not working the playoffs of the major. I also think one of the desk hosts is not working the playoffs of the major. They're cutting the whole staff in half there. This is just an objective fact of what's happening with StarLadder on this portion of it. So there is kind of like a delineation between who's in and who's not for the playoffs of it. Kind of like what happened at Shanghai, actually, if people remember that, where only 2 caster pairs flew over to the event in Shanghai, just Scrawny Launders and Sponge and Machine. The other caster pairs did not actually get to participate. The last thing I would say is that if people didn't watch the latest episode of Talking Counter where Yanko was snubbed from the major hires, he talked about it. I think his words spoke really loudly to me. It's just that he said that in the recent years, it's been kind of eye-opening to figure out that there's a lot of politics that go on, as opposed to my vision and what Thorin outlined as his vision for major hires. The hires for the every major are more about your relationship with the TO. I never personally worked with StarLadder prior to this, but for whatever reason they deem fit, they thought that I was a good fit for them. But I don't think it really is much of a surprise. And again, this is just me speaking factually about this with no shame to StarLadder or anything. The 3 people they hired for their previous Star Series event in the fall were the 3 analysts that were hired for this, and Pimp, Devilwalk, and Ted. True. I was the only inclusion beyond the original 3 that they had there. So, I mean, it's kind of about your relationship with TOs in a way that you probably wouldn't want it to be. You probably would. I personally, like I said, I would want the major hires to be who has contributed to the scene in the most positive way or effective way or engagement heavy way that would make the role. I mean, to be befitting of the role. So those are my takes on that without saying anything about individuals on the hiring.
Go on, Nick, Azad.
Well, first of all, you said a whole lot of nothing.
He's being political. He's trying to carefully say it when he.
I'm working with all these people. I'm not going to say Launders sucks. I'm not going to say Launders just.
I thought he did a good job.
I'm just kidding. Everybody knows I like Launders a lot.
You just said a whole lot of nothing, and it's kind of. it's my problem that it pisses me off. It's not your problem,
Okay,
obviously, right?
go on then.
The thing is, like, we are talking about the two single people here, and it's like Duncan. You see how nice he actually is. A nice person, right? He puts you on the spot, Maui, a little bit, but he is actually a nice person. He didn't say any names. He avoided all these things because he's a nice guy. I'm not a nice guy. I am a normal guy.
By the way, this is the nightmare cop duo. I'm the good cop in this equation. Okay.
I'm like the angelic political cop.
The lineup, it's just criminal. It's just criminal to me that, like, we have Ted and Devil Walk there, right? Listen, I have nothing personally against Ted. I know the guy. He's Bulgarian. Spoke to him multiple times. I'm sure he's a nice guy. I'm sure, but we are not hiring nice guys. This is a major. This is fucking elite level event for the end of the year. I want, as a viewer, and everybody want elite product, elite broadcast. Somebody that you're not gonna mute or walk away, right? This is what we want. Do we agree on that one, at least?
Yeah.
As
You
a
want the
viewer,
world
you want the
championship to
elite
be the
product.
best. That's what I was saying earlier. That's what I was saying. Yeah.
I even tweeted, who's gonna hype me more for the game between Bait and Legacy in 2-2 stage one more? When there is a segment on the desk, is it gonna be Duncan and Yanko or Ted and Devilwalk? Who is gonna make me watch that game between those two pairs? I know what I'm saying, despite the stupid trolls on Twitter that just like to say shit without fucking reason. That's the thing. And it should be elite event. They were in the Star Series, where it was, Budapest, right? A couple of months back. That's fine. Great. Give them more opportunities like that. In 2026, if you have more events, invite them more. Give them opportunities to grow into a personality that's going to present the major as a fucking elite event to the people watching it. Not a rookie guy that has to be like on his second event to be the major. I personally worked 3 years before I got a shot at the major as an analyst. And I got the 2 stages and didn't get the playoffs in Rio. Did I ever complain? Never. Not internally, not in the fucking public, like some people in the fucking talent pool are doing these days. And this is fucking ridiculous to me. And the way they involve politics into this is absolutely crazy. Like, if they went and said, like, I'm just gonna call people out, right? We have Ted and we have Devilwalk. Those are nowhere near a major level event. People, like, you have Yanko, you have even Ble. Where is this guy? This guy is good on the desk.
He's done a lot of majors too.
He speaks fluent English. He can commentate. He can analyze. He has an opinion, a stronger opinion when needed. He can argue. He went through this all like smaller events. Why is he not there? Wouldn't he be a better fit? If you went to all these people that missed out and told them, hey, listen, we have a budget of this kind for this major. We would love you to have you here. We can afford to pay you this much. So we can include the best talent in the fucking space to do this major. I am sure people like Yanko, people like Maui, people like Pimp, and everybody else would decrease their price of a daily fee just to have the better experience for themselves and for the viewers. Am I right when I say that, Maui? Would you compromise on the price?
It would be nice if the way that they held these kinds of discussions was a little bit more open, because I'll talk about, this is not something I'm going to say going into an event. Like I'll talk about the hiring stuff on a podcast probably after the event or something like that. I'm not going to go. I'm not going to show everything immediately.
What I'm saying is, like, if they went the right way about it, we would have the desk analyst and the fucking whole talent pool be elite level again, and we would all enjoy the star ladder, right? We have 8 casters right now, and we have 4 analysts, and we have 3 hosts. Like, surely there was space for 2 more analysts, no? Surely there was a budget for 2 more analysts instead of getting a super high tech hotel with this and that. There was cuts or like rearranging the routes of the money so you can get the better product for the fucking people that are gonna be watching it. I'm sure there was a way. Do we need 3 hosts? No, I don't. Do we need 8 casts? I don't know. Like, there is so many questions around this, and it's like, again, can't stress this enough. Ted is a nice guy. I have nothing against the guy. Like, he can develop into something good, probably, but you need to have the right way about it. You cannot just chuck a guy that's going to be shitting his pants on the major, and then says the most random shit, even though he's thinking something else. And then people are going to go, oh, this Ted guy, oh, this, right? That's the wrong way. You're not doing him any favors there. And I don't give a fuck about the rubber stamp of approval. Who the fuck is Star Leader? They had the last fucking major they had was 6 years ago. They disappeared. Like, they have no credibility anymore. It's a whole new ownership structure as well. It's not Panda and the other guys that were fucking great. I had a perfect relationship with them back when I was in competitive space. Right now, a whole different sets of people. Like, the people are like, they're going for the loyalty. They had these 3 people in the Star Ladder, but that has nothing to do with loyalty. It has to do with business, right? And the performance. The whole industry is based on performance. Same way it goes for the fucking talent pool. If somebody is better than me, he should be there instead of me while I get my shit together and I'm better than him, or at least the same as him. Not because I was invited the last time, or because I accepted 500 euros per day and the other guy didn't. That shouldn't be the criteria, because the money is there. So yeah, I have a very strong opinion on that one, and the most of the talent is okay, especially Sam, Tech Girl, and Freya. I do love those 2. It's just like both of them are great in their own way. Banks. By
the way, on that one, I can even say the same thing. To me, just like Janko gets missed on, what Richard can never even be considered for Star Ladder. What is he? He's hosted loads of events now. It feels like he's set for PGL. He's never going to get in the mix somehow. So no, I just find. And by the way, here's the reason why the Star Ladder one. I know why Maui's right. Like, obviously, I understand it means they've picked those people, but the problem is that Star Series event ran at the same time as Fisher Playground, which was the better event. So you've also, in theory, hired the people who probably didn't get offered Fisher, so I think that one's a little bit tricky if you do like the napkin math of if it makes sense, but whatever. Anyway, I thought, put it this way, it's not as hot a take on my end, but I thought it was a spicy conversation. That'd be a fun one to trigger. It's a great
conversation. I think it triggered a lot of like controversy.
I think so.
It happened before, but it happens now. It's just nonsense for me. I don't care about myself personally. I'm out of that spaces.
Put it this way, the Janko one I always purposely pick because I feel like that's like the least debatable one. It's like when you do the Player of the Year award thing, right? In theory, yeah, I might have my differences, but in theory, last year you could have picked any of those 3. You could have Zebu, Donko, Modesty. They were all fucking amazing last year's players. As long as you pick one of those 3, I'm fine with who you pick as Player of the Year. But the move Starladder did was if you said Gel was the Player of the Year. It's like, what? No, like that can't. No. Like in that case, I'm annoyed because it can't be. It's got to be one of the because the same thing with Janko. You might not if you don't think Janko's the best, surely he's top 3. Top 3 is all I'm saying. Or 4th, yeah. Like, come on, top 4 at least. Come on, be reasonable. And I do feel like if you, I also think a bit like players as well. What incentive is there now? Like when you work in the scene, I think if you do great work, you get rewarded by getting the major. I think that's just a look. By the way, I understand if Janko. This is why I picked Janko as well. He hasn't had any scandals. He hasn't talked shit on Star Ladder as far as I know of, like trashed him in any way. So I also don't get why he gets ghosted in that sense. I don't get it. I don't get what's going on.
Duncan, I guarantee you, with my fucking life, if they asked him to cut his fee in half, he would accept it.
Okay,
just to be the part of the major. 100%.
Okay.
He would do it. The thing is, like, you said it yourself, the example with Richard Lewis. Richard started doing events again with PGM, right? And he's doing a great job. Like, I love watching him, like, talk about shit. You know, he has a nice way of, presenting things when they needed to be presented in a certain way, right? Either they hyped it up or, like, address a certain subject or, like, presented the whole way like it needs to be done as a host. For example, like for me, Banks can't do that. He's not that guy. He's not a host. He's a snake. He's the biggest snake.
We almost got out the episode. We almost got out safe right at the end.
What?
At the end, snake
That's the
emojis in the
content
chat, lads. Snake emojis. Get around to bank, snakes in the chat. So. Whatever. Listen, no one else on this show co-signs that opinion. That is Kassan's opinion.
No.
That's the end of Hot Take Point Made. We will see you on the next episode.
More cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.